Okay, so here we are outside getting ready to paint. I've got my kryptonite gold, excuse me. That's what my dragon's going to be. That's what I went ahead and decided on. I did shoot another portion where I did try the marbling effect. Unfortunately, that didn't come out great. I kind of rushed it. There was 3 layers of paint on there, and when I proceeded to pull the masking off, well, some of the layers of the other paint came with it. So I've decided to make it a little easier on myself and just go with the 2 coats, not rush myself, make sure that I let it dry pretty well before I start peeling away. Like the eye and stuff came out pretty bad. At the end of the video, I will show some of that. I didn't record myself removing the paint, but as you can see, the surface is once again clean. There are some blemishes and stuff in the plastic, but not to worry about that. That will not appear when you paint it. It'll come clear even if you scratch it from the inside. Once the layer of paint gets into the crevices that you've created from the other side, you will actually see a nice crisp clear image. So we're going to proceed to paint. Like I said, you want to make sure that you shake your rattle cans if you're going to use rattle cans, which is primarily all I do. I don't have an airbrush, nor do I even know how to use one. So here I am with rattle cans. Rattle cans work just as well as anything else. Should have taken that down probably a little bit more. Let me just hold it down and get it crinkled. I'm really not too worried about it. I'm going to be spraying this area over here. So the first coat that I'm going to put down is going to be a real light coat. Just enough to get it coated. I don't want to put a lot of paint on it. The reason being it'll start caking and start bubbling and doing all kinds of things. So once I've got that on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry it. Help it along in its process. Just a little bit. All I want is for it to be tacky enough to accept the next coat. Alright, that's about all I need. Now I'm going to continue to put my second coat on. Notice how I keep my can moving. You never want to sit still and paint because there's quite a bit of paint there, and it already started running. Even before I stopped spraying, it was already starting to run. So you want to make sure you put your coats on, make sure you keep your can moving. It's good to shake your can continuously whenever you're not spraying. Just want to make sure that you don't keep it in one position and keep it still. Now that I've got that other coat on, I'll give it a quick little grind. Alrighty. Now this particular color, although it looks pretty nice on the can, the lid, it doesn't spray on that way. It sprays on pretty much clear. If you hold it in a reflection to a certain point, you can see actually the color there. So it's kind of hard to tell, am I putting on too much, am I not putting on enough? So just make sure that spray nice little light coats. It's going to be my third coat, and I'm going to go ahead and stop with my third coat. Now, I've got my third coat on there. That's going to be good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to give it probably about 15 minutes or so. Let it dry. Of course, I'm going to help it along just a little bit. So we're going to let that dry a little bit, and we'll come back to it, and we're going to overspray it with black. The reason I'm going to let it dry a little bit longer this time is just so I can peel back the pupil in the eye. The pupil in the eye, I'm going to do it in black. And since I'm going to overlay it in black, what I'm going to do is pull the pupil out so that way the pupil will be solid black. The outline of the eye itself I'm going to do in gold. I don't have my gold out here. Once I work on the pupil, once it dries pretty well to where I know the paint's going to stick to it without peeling back every time I scratch it, I'm going to go in with my X-Acto blade and I'm just going to kind of make a little starburst away from the pupil out. So that way I'll just give it a little spritz of red, and hopefully the red will show in very fine lines in the pupil. See if we can get that kind of effect out of it. If not, we're just going to let it sit the way it is. Hopefully it'll come out good. If not, well, most of my machines I use for bashing, so it's really not going to make that big of a difference to myself. If you want something for a show vehicle, of course you're going to want to take your time and do the job right and experiment on other pieces of plastic just like you did with your painting. If you want to try something new, experiment it before you paint it on your car. That way you don't have to go through the same thing that I did and have to remove the paint. The thing that I did do with the, well, I'm not even going to talk about that. I'll make that into a little separate video towards the end, how to remove paint. Alright? Okay, so we're going to let that dry for a little while. Okay, so what I've done is I've let it dry. Now I'm getting ready to apply the back coat. I did peel off the eye there, so that way it'll get black. Therefore, and since I don't have any paint there, I'm going to give it a light coat. Just a light coat. Doesn't look like it's full coverage, but believe me, there is some coverage there. I'm going to help that along again with my hair dryer. Just to get it tacky. And then I'm going to apply my second coat. This coat I can go a little heavier. One thing I did forget to mention is when you have your rattle cans, you don't want to use them cold. You want to make sure the paint's nice and warm. You want to shake them, of course. And whenever you're painting on ridges, you notice how the body kind of, it's got the scoop on it. There may not be paint getting in on the inside of the scoop if you're painting in this direction. Same thing if you're painting in the opposite direction. So make sure that you give it a good little swipe inside and inside here, just to make sure that you get full coverage. So I've laid on my second coat. I'm going to help that dry a little bit. Okay, you can always test in an area somewhere whether it's still got any tack to it. Just make sure you don't touch an area that you're actually working with. It's got some good tack to it, so now I'll proceed to apply my third coat. Alright, now I've got my third coat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry for about 15-20 minutes. Then I'm going to peel the mask off, and with luck, hopefully this is going to come out good once I get the mask off. So we'll continue. Actually, I'm sorry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it dry real good, especially the eye area. You know what? I may even wait for the eye area until after the body's completely done. after I get my full coverage on what the rest of the body is going to look like. That way I can ensure that that's going to be dry. I'm not going to rush myself this time. I'm going to learn from the mistake I made earlier, and I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to take my time, let it dry, peel off my mask, and see how it goes. Alright, so later on when we get through with all the painting, we'll go back and we'll do that little highlighting stuff and see how it comes out. Alright. Okay, so we're inside. Paint's all dry. Dry to the touch. Let's proceed to peel off our Parma mask and all our other masks and see how this comes out. Okay, so actually came out pretty good. The paint, of course, is still a little sticky. It doesn't separate very well. After, of course, it dries overnight, it'll harden a little bit and you'll be able to clean up all these little rough edges where the paint still wants to stick to the... you'll be able to scratch that off. It'll become hard and brittle. You'll be able to clean it up before you start painting on your next layer. So we'll flip it over and we'll pull the top mask off. Earlier, as you were applying this, or as I was applying this, I was telling you to leave this tape here like this flapped over, so that way when you're peeling it you won't grab too much of your top coat there that's put on by the factory and you won't loosen it up. And there it is. So we have the dragon painted on our car. Change the angle of it so hopefully you can see the color shift and the color change that's on it. Like I said, the lines are pretty fine. you're going to find some spots, particularly right in here where the paint still sticks to itself. I have a little spot there. Get that up. Okay, so now we have our dragon with our black eye. Like I said, I'm going to scratch in here, put some kind of iris in there, and I may do that after the entire body's painted, so I can make sure that that's nice and dry. We do have some spots, like I said, where it's just not a real fine line, just because the fact that the paint was still soft and it just didn't want to rip completely away from itself. All that will come up. Okay, so we'll show you that before we start painting the next portion. Another thing you want to be mindful of is, did I leave any spots exposed while I was painting my car? If you did, for instance, hopefully you'll be able to see it. Right in here, I've got some green paint where my masking just didn't get right into that groove, so I'll have to remove that. I don't know if I'm going to remove it with brake fluid or try to get it off with some alcohol and a Q-tip. But other than that, we've got that portion of it done. Our dragon is laid down. Of course, it's a color change green, galactic green. Let me make sure I got that color right. I don't think I do. Kryptonite gold. Well, I was way off, wasn't I? Kryptonite gold. It changes from a bronze kind of color to a green color, and that should sit fairly well behind that color that I'm going to put on the background. Other than that, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the side logos that I've designed for this particular car.